Buckle up because the gaming world is in total chaos right now. From jaw-dropping lawsuits and brutal layoffs to $1,000 consoles and game reveals that could change everything. This week has delivered more drama than we've seen all year. Dutch gamers are going to war with Sony over the so-called PlayStation tax. Microsoft is swinging the axe at Xbox again, right as rumors heat up about a next-gen console that could break the $1,000 barrier. Meanwhile, PlayStation's biggest exclusives are facing delays, and legendary franchises like God of War and Battlefield are both caught in the storm of leaks, rumors, and industry shakeups. And just when you think you've seen it all, a new wave of games is landing. From Hideo Kojima's next big swing to China's answer to Black Myth Wukong, with visuals and stories that could raise the bar for everyone. The stakes have never been higher. Every gamer, developer, and console maker is fighting for survival and your attention. So, are you ready for the most turbulent, unpredictable, and straight-up wild moment in gaming this year? Here are the biggest gaming leaks and news you've probably missed this week. Let's break down the chaos. Microsoft just confirmed their next-gen Xbox will once again use AMD chips, thanks to a new multi-year partnership. Sounds good, right? But here's where things get interesting, and maybe a little scary for your wallet. A well-known leaker, Kepler L2, yeah, the same person who dropped those rumored PSP2 specs, just went on X and predicted that the new Xbox could cost at least $1,000. Seriously, his reasoning? Microsoft might not be willing to sell hardware at a loss anymore, especially if the new Xbox is set up to support multiple storefronts like Steam. That would mean Microsoft can't count on big profits from game sales and subscriptions the way they used to, so they'll want to make money on the console itself. Let's not forget, Microsoft just raised the price of the Series X to $599, and the new PS5 Pro is $699. Even Nintendo's next Switch is their most expensive console ever at $449.99. Plus, the Asus ROG Ally X, which is basically a handheld Xbox for PC games, is expected to hit $899. So yeah, the trend is clear. Hardware keeps getting pricier. Whether people are actually going to drop $1,000 on an Xbox is the big question. Could you see yourself paying that much for a console? Or is that just too much, even if it comes with all the bells and whistles? Let me know what you think. So, it looks like Microsoft is about to announce even more job cuts in its Xbox gaming division, possibly as soon as next week. This follows earlier reports that layoffs were coming by the end of the month, and now Bloomberg's backing it up, calling them major layoffs. From what's coming out, Microsoft managers have already been briefed about cuts, both in Xbox and across other departments. The sales team is also expected to get hit right as the new financial year kicks off. There's also talk that Microsoft will be restructuring how Xbox is distributed in Central Europe, with some regions actually losing Xbox operations entirely. And yeah, these layoffs are just the latest in a pretty rough stretch for Xbox employees. This is on top of the 6,000 jobs Microsoft already cut in May, plus 300 more layoffs earlier this month. Let's not forget, since January 2024, we've seen nearly 2,000 Activision Blizzard and Xbox employees laid off, multiple studio closures, including Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin, and even more cuts in the months that followed, hitting everything from HoloLens to Azure. Long story short, the Xbox business is going through a major shakeup as Microsoft gets ready for the next console generation. But a lot of people are losing their jobs along the way. Alright, Battlefield fans, here's the latest. The big Battlefield 6 reveal is still locked in for summer 2025. That's straight from Andy McNamara, one of the top communications leads at Battlefield Studios. So this isn't just rumor, it's official. Right now, the devs are laser focused on Battlefield Labs. If you haven't heard of it, Battlefield Labs is basically an invite-only program where fans can play early alpha versions of Battlefield 6 and give feedback. They send out invites every so often, but you do have to sign an NDA. Not that it stopped leaks, there's already plenty of footage floating around from testers who couldn't resist sharing. What's wild is just how huge the Battlefield 6 dev team is this time. You've got DICE, Criterion, EA Motive, and Ripple Effect all working together. There's more content and features in development than ever, and the Labs program is a big part of shaping how the game turns out. If you want to try your luck, signups are still open on the Battlefield Labs website. You can also join their Discord to keep up with all the latest news and find people to squad up with. As for the leaks and rumors, Battlefield 6 is apparently going back to its roots. Plus big squad-based conquest modes, classic classes like assault and support, and massive player counts. Footage has already shown fighter jets, dogfights, and crazy ground battles, the classic Battlefield chaos. EA says Battlefield 6 should launch before March 31st, 2026. The company's CEO even called it a pivotal step for the next era of big blockbuster shooters. So yeah, get ready. The summer reveal is going to be a big deal. Are you signing up for Battlefield Labs? What do you want to see from the reveal? Let me know below. So PlayStation fans in the Netherlands are officially fed up, and honestly, who can blame them? Today, a bunch of Dutch gamers have actually kicked off a class action lawsuit against Sony, calling them out for what they say is the unfair Sony tax. Basically, they're accusing Sony of monopolistic practices, keeping digital game prices way higher than physical ones. Get this. According to the Fair PlayStation campaign, people in the Netherlands are paying on average 47% more for digital games compared to the same titles on disc. That's wild. Why? Because Sony is the only one allowed to sell digital PlayStation games, no competing app stores, no outside deals, just Sony's store and their prices. The Dutch group says Sony's been abusing its dominant position for at least a decade, but it's only gotten worse as physical games fade out and digital-only consoles become more common. Their research claims that over 1.7 million Dutch PlayStation owners have paid too much for digital games and DLC, and in total, Dutch players have forked out about 435 million euros. That's over $500 million. More than they should have since 2013. That's a lot of extra cash straight to Sony. And it's not just a Netherlands thing. Everywhere, digital PS5 games launch at $69.99 in the US, for example, and Sony controls those prices completely. Meanwhile, physical copies are always getting discounts, price cuts, and deals from different stores. But with Sony pushing digital-only consoles, all that competition goes away, and so do the savings. One of the campaign leaders put it perfectly. Sony keeps changing the rules and jacking up prices, while gamers don't really get anything extra in return. She even said Sony's acting like they don't need to care about competitors, developers, or customers anymore. Which honestly feels kind of true when you see them raise prices on everything from games to hardware just a few months ago. The whole idea was that digital games would be cheaper because they cut out the middleman and manufacturing costs, right? But with Sony's walled garden, there's no pressure to actually pass those savings on to players. Long story short, the Fair PlayStation campaign says Sony is doubling its profits on digital sales, locking out competition, and using its near monopoly to keep prices high. And it's not great for developers and publishers either. Less competition usually means fewer opportunities and worse deals for everyone. The first court hearing is set for later this year, and Dutch gamers are hoping the courts force Sony to open up their store and let other sellers compete. We'll see what happens, but one thing's for sure. If you buy digital games, this is a story worth watching. What if I told you I could mess with your whole perception of reality with just one short sentence? You might say, I've heard that a million times before. Are you ready? Here it is. If buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. That's the title I read today on LMG Clips, one of Linus Tech Tips side channels. The whole video is about TeamViewer kind of revoking his so-called lifetime license that he paid a boatload of money for. Now, before I even watched that video, I stared at the title for about 10 minutes, just thinking about how we don't actually own the games we buy. I'm still thinking about it, honestly. I've never agreed with pirating games, and I've always supported devs, but damn, that title. Knowing what I know now, and dealing with so much of this BS from corporations these days, it hits different. I mean, I pay for a ton of apps monthly that really shouldn't need a subscription, like a photo editor I use for thumbnails and artwork, a video editor I pay for every month, a PS Plus subscription I can't even remember the last time I used, but I'm still subscribed to anyway. And every time I hit accept on those terms and conditions, I'm agreeing that I don't actually own the game I'm buying. So who am I to judge people for pirating in 2025, especially when car companies like BMW are literally trying to charge us monthly for things like massage and heated seats? Kinda makes you think, right? Alright, listen up. There's a new trailer that just exploded onto the scene, and it's for a game called Blood Messege. If you haven't seen it yet, it's already making waves with over 1 million views in a single day, and for good reason. This looks like it could be China's next big single-player hit, right up there with Black Myth, Wukong, and Crimson Desert. So, what's the deal? Blood Messege is set in late Tang Dynasty China, right around the year 850. The setting is legit. The capital city is Chang'an, now known as Xi'an, Khan, and the game kicks off during a real historical conflict when the Tibetan Empire, called Tubo at the time, invaded, cutting off the Silk Road's most important corridor in northwestern China. If you're a history buff, you'll love how deeply rooted in real events this game is. In fact, the original Chinese title, Guang, literally means reclaiming the Tang dynasty, which is way cooler than Blood Message. But hey, translation is tough. The story follows a legendary Tang general, Zhang Yichao, and centers on a high-stakes mission. After leading a successful uprising to reclaim the city of Shazhou, he sends 10 teams of messengers to the Tang capital to call for backup. Only one team makes it, and that's you. Your journey will take you across the Gobi Desert, battling through pirates and rival armies, delivering a message that could decide the fate of an entire empire. Gameplay-wise, don't expect your typical hack-and-slash Dynasty Warrior stuff. Blood Message is shaping up to be a tight, cinematic action adventure in the vein of God of War or The Last of Us. We're talking a father-son story, diverse side characters, tense stealth sections, brutal close-quarters combat, epic set pieces, and a ton of unique cultural flavor. The main crew includes a 40-year-old rebellion fighter, your playable character, his 14-year-old son, a 35-year-old monk who'll likely be your guide, and a couple of Turk-Mongol allies, reflecting the real diversity of the region at that time. One cool detail, rather than making Tibet the obvious villain, for complicated reasons, the story introduces a rival Han general as the antagonist, which is already sparking a ton of discussion online. And speaking of online chatter, the Chinese gaming community is absolutely hyped. Tons of articles, forum threads, and speculation everywhere. This game hit like a tactical nuke, and people are already calling it the next big thing for China's game industry. Visually, it's insane. And if you're wondering how different this is from Marvel rivals, it's basically the opposite. Instead of chaotic 6v6 hero battles, you've got a focused, narrative-driven journey with zero live service nonsense. NetEase is basically saying, hey, we can do cinematic single-player too. And honestly, I love that. Why am I hyped? First, single-player stealth action games have been crushing it lately, but Blood Message stands out because it actually feels like it's going for that classic linear narrative experience. No massive open world full of bloat, no endless side missions, just a tight character-driven story. It almost looks like the game Assassin's Creed Shadows should have been, and from what I've seen in the trailer, the gameplay looks cinematic. The art direction is gorgeous, and the vibes are just right. Even the little bits of gameplay shown off are already making me want more. But there's no release date just yet. The copyright was registered in 2022, and rumor is development started in 2018, so it's been in the works for a while. Let's just hope it doesn't turn into another 4-year wait like Black Myth Wukong. Bottom line, Blood Message is absolutely one to watch if you're into single-player adventures with real historical depth, cinematic action, and that unique Chinese flavor we rarely see in the West. I'm hyped, the internet is hyped, and you should be too. Let me know what you think. Does this look like your kind of game? Drop your thoughts below, and if you want to see more breakdowns like this, stick around. More updates as soon as we get them. Alright, here's some awesome news for Black Desert fans. Or maybe you're just Black Desert curious. You probably already know this game is a blast on PC, and there's even a mobile version out there. But now, get ready, because Black Desert is about to hit PS5 and Xbox Series. Here's what you need to know. Pearl Abyss has just announced that Black Desert will officially launch natively on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series this Thursday, June 26th. We're talking faster load times, better graphics, and just a smoother experience all around. Basically, if you're already hooked on the game or just thinking about trying it out, this is the best it's ever looked on console. Worried about losing your progress if you started on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One? Don't be. The transition to PS5 and Series XS is totally seamless. Your characters, progress, all your stuff, it's all coming with you. No starting over, no drama. On top of that, Pearl Abyss revealed a pretty packed content schedule for the next few weeks. Right out of the gate, there's a major update coming July 10th, adding the fan-favorite Deadeye class, and a mysterious new region called Ulukita. And yes, these updates are specifically designed to take full advantage of the new-gen consoles, so expect things to look and run better than ever. PC players aren't being left out either. Black Desert Online just teased a bunch of new content for PC this week. Lots of rumors flying, a few official announcements, and some new YouTube shorts if you want to dive in. Make sure to keep an eye on their official channels for all the reveals. Also, quick heads up, the Black Desert x Infinite's keycap collab is ending launching on June 28th. If you want to grab some exclusive Black Desert-themed keycaps, and yeah, they actually look pretty sweet, now's your last chance. Alright, it's time to get serious about GTA 6. Rockstar just made a move that's got me more convinced than ever. Big news is coming, and I'm talking Trailer 3, pre-orders, maybe even both, right around the holiday season. Are you ready for the next big drop? Because all the signs are there, and I can't wait to break it down. So here's what's up. A couple of months ago, I predicted Rockstar would kick off the next phase of GTA 6 hype by December, and now they've just done something that totally cements that prediction. Rockstar's rolling out a wave of new job listings for marketing managers, country-specific. They're not just looking for anyone. They want people who know the gaming culture, language, and vibe of their own countries. So, for example, in Japan, they want a native speaker who really gets how to sell GTA 6 to a Japanese audience. Now, some folks think these are just your standard marketing gigs, but let's be real. Rockstar doesn't do standard. They've managed GTA Online marketing perfectly fine for years. Why the new hires now? Because, according to Take-Two's last investor call, they're dialing back on GTA Online marketing and shifting every ounce of energy into the GTA 6 launch. But let's not get carried away. These new hires aren't jumping into action tomorrow. There's a training period, a 3-month ramp-up, and then, once everyone's up to speed, Rockstar will unleash the real campaign. And guess what that timing lines up with? Yep, holiday 2024. Perfect time for a new trailer, pre-orders, or maybe some wild citywide marketing stunts like only Rockstar can pull off. Think about it. Every GTA launch, they do something totally out there. Remember GTA 5 when they had West Coast Customs build an actual Banshee and just gave it away? That's the kind of out there stuff I'm expecting. I bet we'll see something unique in every market. My money's still on Trailer 3 around Christmas. Will it be pure gameplay? Will pre-orders go live? Will Rockstar drop some wild surprise nobody's expecting? Honestly, I'm hyped to find out, and I want to know what you think too. Drop your predictions in the comments. Let's see who gets it right. Alright, so let's talk about Blood of the Dawnwalker. This is the new story-driven RPG coming from Rebel Wolves, and if that name rings a bell, yeah, these are the ex-Witcher devs. It's dropping in 2026, and after the latest gameplay reveal, people are buzzing, and honestly, I get it. This one's all about vampires, destiny, free will, you know, all the good stuff we love in our moody fantasy games. So, what's actually going on here? You play as Cohen, who's basically living that awkward half-vampire life. But here's the twist. During the day, you're basically a regular dude. Mortal, kinda weak, your powers are almost non-existent. But at night, boom, you go full vampire. Super speed, insane strength, the works. That whole day and night mechanic isn't just for show either. It changes the entire pace and feel of the game. So, are you planning out your runs and picking your battles? Or just running for your undead life once the sun goes down? That's up to you. Now, about the structure. This isn't your typical real-time, wait for sunset deal. Time only moves forward with the decisions you make. Every fight, every conversation, every step you take, time ticks on. That means the pressure is always on and every choice actually matters. You've got a 30-day deadline to work with, and the game is tracking your every move. And I love this. The whole adventure is set in this remote, snowy mountain region called Vale Sangoria, which, first of all, sounds metal as hell. But more importantly, it's packed with branching storylines, so every playthrough's going to feel a little different. You pick your path, build relationships, and figure out who you want to side with or betray. Kinda like if The Witcher and Dishonored had a brooding, bloodthirsty baby. Let's talk gameplay. You're sneaking, you're exploring, you're getting into fights. You can switch between your human and vampire forms, and each one has unique moves and strengths. Like, do you want to brawl as a regular guy? Or do you want to teleport through shadows and climb up walls like a supernatural parkour ninja? It's your call. The combat is super dynamic. You can move in any direction, time your blocks, land counterattacks, and if you're good, you fill up a meter that lets you do even more insane moves. There's also magic, but here's the catch. It costs you blood. And yeah, that's exactly as risky as it sounds. Managing your hunger becomes this constant tug of war. You want to go wild with your powers, but drain too much blood, and, well, you might start attracting attention in all the wrong ways. Fight someone in front of the wrong NPC, you might change the story forever. One thing that really stuck out from the gameplay demo is just how reactive the world is. Kill the wrong NPC, towns change, guards start hunting you, and suddenly, your safe house is not so safe anymore. The game doesn't just give you choices and pretend it matters, it actually changes things up. And if you want to play sneaky, there's a whole stealth route where you can blend in, use lies, and sneak around towns without starting fights. The vampire stuff is wild wild too. You get all these crazy powers, scaling walls, teleporting, super senses for spotting secrets. And the skill system is stacked. You've got trees for your human side, your vampire side, a hybrid build, and then a fourth tree for perks, depending on how you play. Level up, get new gear, pick new perks, build your own playstyle, whether you're sneaking, smashing, or going full magic vampire. Now, the game's still pre-beta, so it's not super polished yet. The trailer looks great, but you can tell they're still ironing out the UI and the visuals. That's honestly a good thing, because it means they're not rushing it. But even at this stage, it already feels like the kind of morally complex, high-stakes RPGs we all loved from the last decade. You know, before everything went live service and microtransaction crazy. But here's what's really cool. Rebel Wolves isn't just making The Witcher, but with vampires. They're trying to push things even further. This isn't just about killing monsters. It's about big moral choices, dealing with the fallout, and trying to survive in a world that reacts to everything you do. Time is always ticking. Hunger is always gnawing at you. And sometimes your biggest enemy is yourself. If you're like me and you want something with consequences, big choices, and a world that actually pushes back, Blood of the Dawnwalker looks like the real deal. Death Stranding 2 is here, and Kojima and his team are doing what they do best. The first game was your vibe, you're about to get hooked all over again. If you bounced off it, well, I'd still say give this one a look because it's made for folks who want something just a little different. Right out of the gate, the sequel feels familiar. You got Sam, you got Lou, remember the little BB? And now they're kind of laying low after all the madness with the UCA. But of course, Fragile rolls up and, surprise, Sam's back on the job, hiking across wild new frontiers, trying to reconnect the world. It's the most Kojima setup possible. Beautiful, weird, and full of characters who say things like, slide it on your thumb like a ring. Classic. The story? Oh, it's still wild. If you love Kojima's brand of storytelling, those crazy plot twists, those cutscenes that are somehow both poetic and totally absurd, you're going to eat this up. If you don't, well, maybe grab some popcorn, because the cast is stacked. We're talking big names, A-list performances, and some of the most memorable weirdos you'll find in a video game. The dialogue, hilarious 1 minute, weirdly touching the next. It's pure theater, but in the best possible way. But let's get to what actually matters, the gameplay. So, does Death Stranding 2 shake up the whole formula? Not exactly. It's still got that core loop of carrying stuff from point A to B, navigating treacherous landscapes and building up connections as you go. But this time, it just feels more, well, more. More to do, more ways to approach problems, more variety in every corner. And about those new locations, yeah, you're not just stuck in post-apocalyptic America anymore. You're heading to places like Mexico and Australia. These aren't just copy-paste maps either. They're packed with new environments, forests, deserts, mountains, you name it. And they're designed to really test how you get around. Think of it like nature itself is your biggest boss battle. Now, don't expect bustling cities or tons of NPCs. This is still Death Stranding. The real challenge is getting from one jaw-dropping vista to the next, finding your own way through raging rivers, deadly storms, and, yeah, even wildfires. The difference this time? There's a lot more going on. Day, night cycles, dynamic weather, and all kinds of environmental events that'll actually force you to rethink your route. And the game gives you more tools than ever. Want to ride a new bike? Go for it. Build new gadgets? Absolutely. Deal with a pack of bandits? That's up to you. And for the sneaky types out there, Kojima finally lets you flex those stealth muscles a bit, sneaking through enemy camps, outsmarting patrols. Is it Metal Gear? No, but the stealth is actually pretty satisfying, and you always feel like you have options. If you just want to avoid trouble entirely and go the long way around, you can do that too. Now, combat? Look, it's better than before, way more responsive, but it's never going to be the main course. This isn't Gears of War. The real hook is still traversal, and that's where the game totally nails it. Those tense moments of crossing some impossible cliff, barely making it through a sandstorm, or managing your cargo before it all goes flying down a ravine. Every journey feels earned. Oh, and the social strand system, still here, still awesome. You'll see stuff left behind by other players. Ladders, ropes, shelters, and it actually makes a difference. There's this low-key, cozy feeling of, hey, someone out there is struggling just as much as me. It's honestly one of the coolest multiplayer ideas out there, and the sequel really leans into it. Let's talk visuals. This game is gorgeous, not just in a wow, nice graphics way, but in that I want to frame this screenshot kind of way. The landscapes are insane, the weather effects are next level, and the character models, forget about it. Kojima's always been about making his games feel like cinema, and this is probably the best looking thing he's ever touched. The soundtrack slaps too. Original tracks, licensed songs, all of it just fits perfectly. A performance smooth as butter. Never hit a moment where the game felt rough, even when the weather was going nuts and you've got cargo stacked to the moon. So, what's the verdict? Death Stranding 2. On the Beach isn't just more Death Stranding. It's Death Stranding with confidence. It's bigger, smarter, weirder, and honestly, just better. Will it still be divisive? Yeah, totally. Some people are still gonna say, bro, this is just a hiking sim. But if you give it a chance and you're down for something unique, it's going to stick with you. Anyway, that's my take. If you made it this far, you probably already know if this game is for you. Let me know what you think down in the comments. So let's talk about MindsEye, the new game from Build a Rocket Boy, the studio headed by Leslie Benzies, who used to run Rockstar North. This game actually dropped less than 2 weeks ago, and honestly, it was an absolute mess. For some people, the game didn't even launch, and if it did, crashes everywhere. Game-breaking bugs left and right. Even if you got it running, the writing was bad, the design was all over the place, just not a fun time. Here's the big headline. Build a Rocket Boy has just kicked off a 45-day consultation process. That basically means they're preparing to lay off at least 100 employees. If you lay off less than 20 people, nothing really happens legally. But more than 100 in a 90-day period, the government steps in. And let's be real, layoffs at Build a Rocket Boy are nothing new. It's basically become a running theme there. Every 90 days or so, people are let go or new hires are dropped. Why? Because it's the cheapest way for them to keep a rotating workforce without paying out redundancy packages. Allegedly, they've really abused the whole probationary period. What I'm hearing is that Build a Rocket Boy has been cycling people in and out just to save money, which is pretty grim. This time, though, it looks like 100 or more people are getting cut. That's huge. Build a Rocket Boy only has around 350 to 500 employees total, so this is like a quarter to a third of their entire team. That's not a minor restructure. That's an end times situation. So what's next for MindsEye? Honestly, I don't see any way the game gets properly finished or becomes the open world experience they hyped it up to be. If you play the free roam mode, there's literally nothing to do. It's so boring, you won't last 5 minutes. To actually finish this game, they'd need a full team working for years. But with these layoffs and the cost of redundancy pay alone, the company's bank account is probably running on fumes. Allegedly, there wasn't much money left even before this round of layoffs. Now, there's nothing stopping them from making even more layoffs after this batch. They might keep a few teams on to patch MindsEye and make it at least playable, but that's probably just because Sony and Steam have been hit with a wave of refund requests. It wouldn't surprise me if there have been behind-the-scenes talks making sure the game at least gets to a finished state to avoid refunding everyone, because right now, they don't have the cash to pay people back. Honestly, from where I'm standing, it looks like Build a Rocket Boy is trying to finish up the game just enough to avoid mass refunds, cash out what little they can, and walk away. All my research point to this being the first stage of the company shutting down for good. And let's not forget, MindsEye peaked at just 3,000 players at launch. Now, less than 2 weeks later, it's dropped to around 70 active users on Steam, and earlier today, it was as low as 40. Console players? It's even worse. The console version is just the story mode. There's no real free roam. You can't even steal vehicles. Nothing. The PC version, at least, has the building tools so you can make your own missions, but even then, barely anyone is playing. There's just no point in finishing this game from a business perspective. What I've heard, allegedly, to be clear, is that working there was basically impossible. Imagine starting your day working on an animation, only to be told a couple hours later to drop everything because the execs had a new idea. Then, halfway through that, they change their minds again, and you start over on something else. Rinse and repeat, month after month. And just before your probation is up, you're fired and replaced contract with someone else, who then has to pick up your half-finished work until they get the same treatment. This wasn't just a dev problem. It was every department, allegedly. The project direction kept flipping between Everywhere and MindsEye, with priorities changing monthly. There's been some noise in the community blaming YouTubers for the failure of MindsEye, as if talking about it ruined the game. Look, even if you erased every single YouTuber who ever said a word about it, the game would still be a disaster. Good games sell themselves, and this just wasn't one of them. For the record, Build a Rocket Boy even accused people of being paid off by Rockstar to trash the game, which is ridiculous. It's nonsense. What is PlayStation's reasoning for not creating a Game Pass clone service at this point? Compare price. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me. They experimented with it like 2 or 3 years ago with PlayStation Plus, and they just straight up said, "We've decided it's not for us." So they pulled back on all of it. They just decided it wasn't worth it. And for them, it probably wasn't. Like, for them, it probably didn't make sense, because PlayStation fans are much more accustomed to paying full price for the AAA games they want. The problem for Xbox, long-term, potentially, is that people who play on Xbox are now conditioned to just getting the new game included in what they're already paying every month. They don't like the idea of additional or upfront costs for their games. So it means, like, if Xbox were to do something, and they experimented with this, where they had some games launching day one, but maybe not on Game Pass, it didn't translate well, didn't work, because their customers are conditioned to just have it included if they're on Ultimate, like the Ultimate Game Pass tier. So for PlayStation, hey, if you've got millions of people willing to pay you $70-$80 upfront, just do that. And that's what they've decided. They're just keeping it. It sucks if your game costs $200 million and they don't do that, because it was very expensive, and you don't have recurring revenue in months where you aren't releasing something like Game Pass does. But if you do have a good month, you pop off. I mean, again, just the most simple, bare bones way of understanding the difference between the two is that Game Pass generates this much revenue every month. Let's even just make it there are going to be some months where maybe there's like an expansion. Maybe some months there's, some early access thing you pay $35 for. But in general, this is what Game Pass revenue looks like. Okay, for PlayStation, it's a little bit different, where they have recurring revenue, but it's way lower. And then they have a release, in which case people pay $70 and it spikes like crazy. And then it goes down and back to normal. And then it spikes and it goes back down. So for PlayStation, they're doing okay if they can hit these spikes and if that works. But if they have like a Conquered, it doesn't spike like that. And instead, you were expecting a spike, but you got nothing. And so you just have all of this that's just left underwater. And it can be bad. So PlayStation's pricing model is very intolerant of flops. It does not work as well. Microsoft, straight up, if they have a game that really underperforms, it's not the end of the world, because they're still getting 35 million people to pay them every single month, whether there's a new game or not. They just have to have enough games that people refuse to cancel. That's all you really need to do. One of Sony's biggest revenue sources is actually insurance in Japan. Did you know that? Probably not. But Sony has many different revenue streams, lots of cash coming in from many different places. But just simply to understand the difference between recurrent revenue streams and something just based on simple products and like a premium product pricing, that's kind of how to understand it. If you want to be ahead of all the gaming leaks and news, specifically PlayStation news, time for you to subscribe. And as always, a like on the video is very much appreciated.